Hello drone racers, this is a new drone that I just got into review and it's giving me the perfect opportunity to go through updating to Betaflight 3.2. So I'm going to show you my process on going through, not that it's going to be perfect, but this is what I do. So hopefully it's going to help you go through this process also. I'm going to get it connected here. I've connected with a USB. First, I've made sure this USB cable is not a power only cable, so it does connect. If you plug in and it powers on, but it doesn't show up in Betaflight, try a different USB cable because you probably have a charging only cable. So here in Betaflight, what I'm going to do is go through and first double check my version. What am I on? What did it come on? Here it's an Omnibus F4, which is great, but it came on 3.15, which is not great. It was good for the time, but it's so much better now. I didn't go straight into boot mode because I want to look at the existing configuration first. How did it ship? Sometimes it will ship with some config, sometimes it won't. Here in this case, it's very important I did because see this UART1 is serial RX. That's good to know because I'm going to have to reset this up after I'm done. If you're on an F3 board, it's probably going to be UART3 for your serial RX. So it just depends on what you're flying. You need to make sure you check. Under configuration, I'll check and they are already on D-Shot, which is great. And 8000, so it should support that without any problem at all. And one of the big things I want to look at is board and sensor alignment. Have they changed this? Is it on 90 degrees? Is it on 45 degrees? If it is, I need to know that now because you will have to reset that up or things will not fly right without it. I also double checked they don't have a barometer or a magnetometer. That's not something this is going to have. They do have black box enabled, which is good, and it does support OSD, which is essential. Under PID tuning, I'm not going to change anything. I just want to look and see if they've got custom PIDs on here. I don't really care because I'm going to redo them from scratch anyway, but it's nice to see. Receiver, there's probably not anything unusual. Have they set up modes? Is there anything unusual there? Nope, it's all blank. I'm going to set up my own there anyway. So really it's about the configuration page. Now I'm going into the CLI, and what I want to do is I'm going to double check one more time because it's super important. It is an Omnibus F4 board. You have to select the right one later or else you will have major problems. So now from here what I type is DFU. And this will reboot into boot mode. It's the same as holding down the boot pins and then plugging in and booting. So in this case, up here you can see I'm in DFU mode, which is great, but if you don't have that option, if you look here and it's like there's no DFU, I don't know what you're talking about. What you need to do next is go here to these options. Look for the Zadig USB driver, click here, go to this website and download the Zadig driver. So here I'm on Zadig 2.3, I'm going to just download and run this. So here, the first thing I'm going to do is go to options and list all devices. That will let me see all my USB devices. The one we're looking for is STM32 bootloader. And here you can see my driver installed version and running version is the same, but if you'll see something else here, it'll say, I don't even know what else, I don't remember. But if it doesn't match, click here and hit reinstall driver or install driver. That will load the driver. Then when you reboot, you'll be back where we need to be next. So now we're in DFU mode and we'll go to firmware flasher and make sure I'm on Omnibus F4. It's super important that that matches. Chose the latest version. I'm on 3.2.1 now because it has all the new magic in it. I'm going to do a full chip erase just because I've been back and forth several times here and to make it easy so it looks the same as what you'll see probably. I load firmware online, it just downloads automatically, and flash firmware. There we go, program successful. I sped that up. You don't want to watch it for the 90 seconds that it takes for that progress. Now I will connect, and what you'll see is a bunch of nothing, no settings. But that's why we checked ahead of time. Now I know UART1 is my serial RX, and I can set that and make that work. Some of these will make the whole thing reboot, some of them will not. They'll just save and move on. So now we'll go into config, and it will probably D-Shot to one-shot 125. Yep, so we don't want that. We want D-Shot 600. I want motor stop on. My board alignments are still accurate. This I can change up to 8x8, and we do not have a barometer. We check that. Now I can personalize it. This will show the name in the OSD. I'm going to call this an XJB 145. So it defaulted to serial base, but it's a Spectrum 1024, which is no good. I need SBus. And then we'll go down and check. OSD is on. So the real magic that I want is anti-gravity is good. That helps keep the drone level in a punch out, and dynamic filters are magic. I'll cover those more in just a minute. The other thing I do, it's not a big deal here, which is one of the reasons I'm using this model, but you want to turn off USB beeper configuration. That will help keep it from beeping when you're plugged in via USB. Power and battery is a new page, and I lower both the minimum cell voltage and the warning cell voltage by 0.2. That helps keep it from beeping at me too early. By default, it beeps at you too early. PID tuning, I don't restore my previous PIDs, not with 3.2. I just leave them. So we are on 3.2 here, but I do turn up super rates because I like to do flips and rolls, and on 0.8, I kind of find is the right number for me to flip those around. Then filter settings is where the real magic for 3.2 comes in. Dynamic filters replace what you need to do here and try and finding the filter frequency. So what you want to do is finish your config, leave this alone, and go fly it. Test the motors and see if they're hot. As long as they're not hot, then come back and one at a time do these steps. Change the low pass filter to PT1 and disable the first notch filter. And these are the huge improvement in 3.2.1 over 3.2. You have those just check boxes to turn them off. Save that, go fly it, see if the motors are hot, come back, turn off the next one. Save it, go fly it, go see if the motors are hot. If they're not, come back and turn off the next one. Save it, go fly it, make sure the motors are hot, fly it, make sure the motors are hot, fly it, make sure the motors are hot, and then you're good to go, because that's the best setup. Now you're letting the computer's dynamic filter handle that filter range and move it as it needs to. So that's the way to go, as long as you can get away with it without your motors burning up. So under receiver, so it defaults to almost the right place for me, but because I'm flying a FrSky, I need to change this to Spectrum JR, which is TAER. That is how my FrSky radio is set up. Save there. Next, under modes, I will use arm, angle, horizon, and beeper on this page. And arm, I want to be at, this is a three-way switch, so I want it in the middle and the bottom. Angle needs to be on aux 2, and angle I have set at the back of the switch. Horizon I have set at the middle of the switch. That leaves the bottom of the switch as rate mode or acro mode. My beeper I have set on aux 3, and I move this all the way to the top, so that way if I don't have my radio connected, it doesn't beep at me like crazy. The one other thing I need today is air mode. I want air mode enabled for horizon mode and rate mode or acro mode, and I want that on aux 2 so it matches. What I'm not going to set up today is the flip over after crash. That's another option that we're going to cover in a separate video at some point. That's one of the big changes for 3.2, the enablement of that. And this should be a good model for that. Motors, if you need to check your motor direction before you fly it, you can do that. OSD defaults to everything being on, so I'm going to hit switch all and turn this off and just show you what I use. And I use the main battery voltage, the crosshairs, the two timers. I like both the timers. Craft name so I can see when I'm watching the video afterwards which one I was flying. Warnings and average cell voltage. I'm missing one. I missed fly mode. I like that too because I still keep all three fly modes on my drone. So there you go. It makes it nice and small and clean and just shows me the things that I need to see. And this average cell voltage is such a huge advantage when you're flying a bunch of different models with different size batteries. I don't want to do math in my head while I'm flying. So now with the average cell voltage, I know at a glance much better, and I've ruined less batteries because of that one feature. Now is when you would want to go into your CLI and double check your version. I'm on 321 and do a dump. So now you can copy that to a config file. So if you ever have to just erase the config and rebuild it without a version upgrade, you can keep that. So here you can then just save it to a file. So while I'm at it, because it's very important for the dynamic filters, I'm going to go ahead and go into BLHeli configurator also. So here I'm going to connect in on COM 18 the same way. To do this though, I have to shut down Betaflight, to not be disconnected through Betaflight. And now I will connect here. Everything's on. Here you have to apply power, so now it says to plug in power, so I'm going to do that. So the ESCs are powered. I will go through and read setup and see how old this is. Yeah, so these are on 16.5, which is kind of old, not terribly old, but it's old, so that's not going to be able to take advantage of all the 3.2 features. So in this case, I'm just going to do a flash all. And the ESCs are already selected. And I'm going to use, I'm gonna use the official version in this case with the D-Shot commands. There we go, finished in 12 seconds. So that will help everything sync up because these kind of do go along with the features of BLHeli. One last thing before I go, I'm on this page and I have found that the accelerometer is off a lot on these new models after an update. So I'm going to go ahead and calibrate the accelerometer also. So while it's doing that, if you found this useful, leave a like down below and comment with what else you want to see. Do you want to see an updated version when 3.3 comes out? Do you want to see what turtle mode does or how that works? But the important thing is, until next time, remember, dynamic filters are magic.